How did a team built on a dispute become one of the greatest dynasties in world football? Well, few clubs can claim a birth so steeped in drama, ambition, and rebellion. But Liverpool Football Club, its very existence is a tale of conflict that shook the foundations of English football. And today, Liverpool is a powerhouse in European football. But before we get to their success and transition, how did it all begin? With a bitter dispute. Wait till I get to that historical day. Who would have thought that the dispute would lead to a revolution that shaped the football world forever? With their global legacy, passionate fan base, and iconic moments, Liverpool turned into a powerhouse in world football. Before we talk about how Liverpool was formed, we need to reveal the reasons for their envious reputation. The team won 19 Premier League titles, 8 FA Cups, a record 10 League Cups, 16 FA Community Shields. Let me take a quick breath. The list isn't ending anytime soon. Okay, what about in European competitions? Liverpool's a force to reckon with. The club won 6 European Cups, 3 UEFA Cups, and 4 Super Cups, all English records. But what truly makes them one of the best teams in the world? Is it the trophies or their legends? Or is it their fans who never walk alone? From getting into the spotlight in Shankly's era to Klopp's powerful tactics, Liverpool isn't just a team, it's a dynasty. But first, we need to talk about the transition of Liverpool. You might think that the transition was seamless, but it was far from a smooth journey. A journey filled with relegations, a transition in leadership, and 2 dark incidents that shook not only the club, but the whole world. But it's Liverpool. They fought back. With the help of some legendary coaches and players, Liverpool broke record after record. Who can forget their recent run? Anfield celebrated the mighty Champions League and the Premier League success in recent years under Klopp's leadership. But what really makes Liverpool great? It's their mentality to keep their heads up and fight against all odds during transitional periods. And it's quite evident after Klopp left his position after 9 years and Arne Slot took the responsibility. Liverpool is currently sitting at the top of the Premier League and might end the season as champions as well. But before we talk more about their current form, which we will at the end of this video, let's talk about the events that shaped Liverpool's meteoric rise. How did it all start? And what's the deal with the dispute that I've kept hidden from you from the beginning of this video? Well, it all started with Anfield and a person called John Holding. In the late 19th century, football was blossoming into a national obsession, and at the heart of the action stood Anfield, then the home of Everton Football Club. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. The landlord, John Holding, and the Everton board couldn't see eye to eye. Their disagreement wasn't just about football, it was about power, control, and money. Holding demanded higher rent for the Anfield ground. Everton refused. What happened next would send shockwaves across Liverpool. In March 1892, Everton abandoned Anfield, leaving Holding with an empty stadium and a bold idea. Little did anyone know that this bitter split would lay the foundation for one of football's greatest revolutions. Holding didn't just sit back and sulk. Nope, he decided to form his own club. Liverpool Football Club was born, not out of unity, but out of defiance. March 15, 1892 was just the beginning. But how did this small club rise from the ashes of a feud to dominate the footballing world? And what secrets lie buried in its history? Stick with us as we unravel the incredible journey of Liverpool Football Club, one story at a time. Liverpool Football Club was no stranger to adversity. The club faced an uphill battle to establish itself. It wasn't just about forming a team, it was about proving they belonged. But in the game of football, the only way to speak louder than your rivals is through triumph, and Liverpool didn't take long to find its voice. John Holding and his close confidants started to build the squad. The first Liverpool squad was a mix of local talent and Scottish imports, players brought in to build something formidable. These men, dubbed the Team of Max because of their Scottish roots, took to the field with determination. Liverpool's first competitive match? A resounding 8-0 victory in the Lancashire League. It was a statement of intent from a team with everything to prove. In 1893, Liverpool stepped up to the Football League's second division. It was here that the real test began. How do you go from being the new kid on the block to being a force to be reckoned with? Liverpool answered that question in dramatic style. They stormed through the league undefeated, winning 22 out of 28 games and clinching promotion to the first division at the first attempt. A meteoric rise, but it was just the beginning of their fight for respect. Promotion to the top tier brought new challenges. The competition was fiercer, the stakes higher. Liverpool's players' struggles were visible against more seasoned teams in heavy rain and mud. Their early years in the first division were far from smooth. They were relegated in 1895, a humbling moment for a club with higher ambitions. But Liverpool learned quickly that failure wasn't the end, it was a lesson, and with each setback, they grew stronger. By the end of the century, Liverpool was a club transformed. Under the guidance of manager Tom Watson, the team found its identity. Watson emphasized tactical discipline and teamwork, and it was this philosophy that would become a cornerstone of Liverpool's future successes. The result? A dramatic title race in the 1900-01 season. On April 29, 1901, Liverpool secured their first ever league title. Liverpool made headlines for the very first time. Liverpool FC crowned champions of England. Fans in Edwardian attire celebrated wildly on cobbled streets. It was a historic moment, a vindication of the club's bold beginnings and relentless spirit. The victory wasn't just for the players or the manager, it was for the city, for the fans who had stood by them through thick and thin. Liverpool Football Club was no longer just a name. Watson was one of football's great pioneers, serving as Liverpool's manager from 1896 to 1915. Watson's Liverpool went on to win another title in the 1905-06 season, solidifying their status as an emerging football power in Europe. From the Lancashire League to the pinnacle of English football in less than a decade, it was a journey of grit, determination, and belief. As the 20th century unfolded, new challenges awaited for Liverpool, and the incidents coming up next almost tarnished their early success, up until there was a man, a savior. We'll get to that in a moment. Liverpool's success wasn't permanent. As the decades rolled on, consistency eluded them. By the 1930s, Liverpool's golden glow was fading, and soon the club and the world would face a storm that threatened the very fabric of football itself. After Watson's departure, George Patterson and George Kay took charge of the team. Patterson failed to win anything during his tenure. Kay's time was marked by the difficulties of the Second World War. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 brought an abrupt halt to professional football. The Football League was suspended indefinitely, and Liverpool, like every other club, was plunged into a period of uncertainty. Players traded their kits for uniforms. Fields turned into makeshift training grounds for soldiers, and the roar of the Kop was replaced by the ominous drone of bombers overhead. Many of Liverpool's players enlisted in the armed forces, fighting on the front lines or supporting the war effort. Among them was Billy Liddell, who would later become one of the club's most iconic figures. Liddell served in the Royal Air Force, balancing his duties with appearances in wartime regional matches that kept the spirit of football alive. While official competitions were suspended, regional leagues and charity matches provided fleeting moments of normalcy. Liverpool participated in the Northern Regional League, a far cry from the glory of the First Division, but a lifeline for fans who clung to the game as a symbol of hope. During the war, Liverpool City endured unimaginable hardship. The city, a vital port for Allied operations, was heavily targeted during the Blitz. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble. Anfield, though spared the worst, stood eerily silent, a symbol of the void left by war. As the war dragged on, Liverpool Football Club faced its own battles off the pitch. The club struggled financially like many others, with no regular league matches to generate income. Recruitment became a challenge, and the future seemed uncertain. Could Liverpool rebuild when the dust settled? Could they rise again from the ashes of a world torn apart? When the war finally ended in 1945, football returned, but it wasn't the same. The players were older, the fans had endured years of loss, and the game itself was in need of revival. For Liverpool, the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. The glory days of the early 20th century felt like a distant memory. Yet, even in those darkest hours, one truth remained. Liverpool Football Club would never walk alone. How does a club reclaim its identity after years of struggle? How does it rise from the rubble of war to chase greatness once more? Stick with us as we uncover Liverpool's journey through the post-war years. The end of World War II brought hope to a weary world. But for Liverpool Football Club, the road to recovery was anything but smooth. Once crowned champions of England, the Reds found themselves trapped in the shadows of their glorious past. Despite a glimmer of hope when Liverpool won the FA Cup in 1950, their league performances were erratic, and a sense of mediocrity began to settle over Anfield. Despite their poor run, George Kay managed to navigate the club through the war, but what happened next was worse than before. After Kay stepped down in 1951, Don Welsh took charge of the team. Then came 1954, a year etched into the club's history as one of its darkest. Liverpool, champions of England just decades earlier, were relegated to the second division. It wasn't just a failure, it was a humiliation. The mighty Reds, the pride of Merseyside, found themselves battling smaller, lesser-known clubs in stadiums far removed from the grandeur of the First Division. For 8 long years, Liverpool toiled in the second division. The club seemed lost and its identity eroded. Financial struggles compounded their woes, and the once-packed stands at Anfield began to thin. The club desperately needed a lifeline, a leader who could inspire belief, reignite their ambition, and drag Liverpool out of the depths. Liverpool desperately needed a savior, and the darkest hour was just before the dawn. In December 1959, that dawn arrived in the form of a fiery Scotsman with an unshakable vision, an era that defines the legacy of Liverpool. Bill Shankly, his name would come to define not just a revival, but a revolution. Shankly didn't just bring a plan, he brought belief. A belief that Liverpool could rise again, not just as a club, but as a fortress of footballing excellence. The savior Liverpool had been searching for was here. And with him came the promise of better days, a promise to restore the pride of Anfield and reclaim their rightful place among football's elite. But how did he rebuild a broken club into a powerhouse? And what battles lay ahead on the road to greatness? In Bill Shankly's words, "My idea was to build Liverpool into a bastion of invincibility, a club that everyone in football would fear." And that's exactly what he set out to do. Shankly's first act as manager was to rebuild the squad. He identified the players he could trust and ruthlessly cleared out those who didn't meet his standards. He signed names that would become legends: Ian St. John, Ron Yates, and Gordon Milne. These weren't just players, they were pillars of the new Liverpool, men who embodied Shankly's values of hard work and discipline. But it wasn't just about the players. Shankly demanded excellence in every aspect of the game. He famously described the training ground, Melwood, as a pigsty, and immediately set about transforming it into a state-of-the-art facility. Shankly didn't just transform Liverpool on the pitch. What really changed Liverpool from the core happened off the pitch. It was a big revolutionary step and started a legacy that would produce the best results for the Reds. What was that step? It all started in a small room, the infamous boot room. This modest room, filled with wooden benches and chalkboards, became the beating heart of Liverpool's footballing brain. Here, Shankly surrounded himself with a cadre of trusted lieutenants: Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, and Reuben Bennett. Together, they devised strategies, analyzed opponents, and even invited the opponent coaches to talk about the Reds' weak points. Talk about growth. It wasn't just a room, it was a philosophy. Shankly created a system that didn't end by the time he shockingly retired. He passed down the legacy to his comrades, the original 6 members of the boot room who later became pillars of Liverpool's rise. We'll get to that shortly. Let's first talk about how Shankly brought success to the team. Shankly didn't just bring Liverpool back to the First Division, he made them contenders. In 1964, Liverpool won their first league title in 17 years. 2 years later, they claimed their first ever FA Cup, defeating Leeds United in a dramatic final that sent the city into raptures. He oversaw 783 games during his 15 years of manager of Liverpool and led his team to 10 honors, including 4 league titles, 2 FA Cups, 4 Charity Shields, and 1 UEFA Cup. Anfield roared once more, a fortress resurrected under Shankly's watchful eye. He addressed the fans. "This is not just a club, it's a way of life. These people on the Kop, they are my people. They are the ones who matter." Shankly's connection with the fans was nothing short of extraordinary. He didn't view football as a mere game. It was life itself, a pulsing force that brought people together and gave them something to believe in. His passion wasn't just felt, it was contagious. The bond he created between the players, the club, and the fans became the very soul of Liverpool's identity, a connection that resonated in every chant, every cheer, and every moment of glory. By the time Shankly stepped away in 1974, Liverpool had transformed. This was no longer a struggling second division side, but a powerhouse, one of the most feared teams in England. But Shankly's greatest triumph wasn't a trophy, it was his vision. The foundation he laid ensured Liverpool wasn't just a club that won games, it was a club destined for greatness. His boot room philosophy wasn't just a strategy, it was a legacy. The torch passed seamlessly, first to Bob Paisley, then to Joe Fagan, and far beyond. And here's the kicker, Shankly's retirement didn't silence Liverpool's roar, it amplified it. Remember the iconic boot room team? One of its own was ready to take the helm. Enter Bob Paisley, the reluctant genius who would take Shankly's work and elevate it to unimaginable heights. From 1974 to 1983, Paisley added a staggering 20 trophies to Liverpool's cabinet in just 9 seasons. That's right, 6 league titles, 3 European Cups, 3 League Cups, a UEFA Cup, a Super Cup, and 3 Charity Shields. But Paisley's journey wasn't just about silverware. It was about trust, continuity, and knowing how to lead. Before becoming manager, he had been a Liverpool player and later Shankly's trusted lieutenant. By the time his managerial tenure ended in 1983, Paisley had served Liverpool loyally for an astonishing 44 years, cementing himself as a cornerstone of the club's history. But it didn't end there. The boot room was far from done. Another of Shankly's protégés, Joe Fagan, was ready to step up. Fans asked, how could anyone follow the great Bob Paisley? It was a fair question, but Fagan's transition was seamless, just like those before him. In his first season, 1983-84, he delivered a historic treble, a league title, a League Cup, and the most coveted prize of all, the European Cup. Some argue this was Liverpool's finest season, a perfect blend of dominance and resilience. But this was only part of the boot room's legacy. It wasn't just about winning, it was about creating a system, a culture, and a spirit that defined Liverpool. Before we get to the most tragic part of the video, share your favorite moments as a Liverpool fan in the comments. Liverpool fans were not ready to face what was about to come their way. 2 disasters that would shake not only Liverpool but the whole world. The second one was unimaginable, which took place in 1989. But before we get to that, let's talk about the Heysel Stadium disaster. It occurred on May 29, 1985, before the European Cup final between Liverpool and Juventus. A section of the stadium collapsed following violent clashes between fans, resulting in 39 deaths, mostly Juventus supporters, and hundreds of injuries. This tragedy deeply affected Liverpool as a club and community. English clubs, including Liverpool, were banned from European competitions for 5 years, tarnishing their reputation. English clubs missed out on European competitions during the ban, including the European Cup and UEFA Cup. Liverpool's absence from European competitions lasted from 1985 to 1991. It marked the end of Liverpool's dominance in Europe and led to introspection about fan behavior and safety in football. When Kenny Dalglish eventually rose to the top job, he became the first student of the boot room to carry the legacy forward. And yet, there was one last original boot room member to briefly take the reins, Ronnie Moran. When Dalglish stepped down unexpectedly in 1991, after winning 3 league titles and 2 FA Cups, it was Moran who Liverpool turned to, a figure so deeply ingrained in the club's DNA that he was the obvious choice. But before we get to the end of the boot room era, another tragedy struck Liverpool, and this time it was worse. How did a sunny day at the FA Cup semi-final turn into one of football's darkest moments? On April 15, 1989, tragedy struck during Liverpool's match against Nottingham Forest at Hillsborough Stadium. Overcrowding in the Leppings Lane stands led to a horrific crash, claiming the lives of 97 Liverpool fans and injuring hundreds more. Initially, the victims were wrongly blamed, but years of tireless campaigning by families and survivors exposed the truth. Police failures and poor crowd management were to blame. It all started right before the match. There was only one entry for 10,000 Liverpool fans. When fans tried to push through the gate, the South Yorkshire Police Superintendent David Duckenfield opened the exit gate. This turned the Pen 3 and 4 into a death trap. 94 fans died immediately due to serious congestion. Eventually, fans were disheartened when the court cleared off all allegations of manslaughter against Duckenfield in 2019. The aftermath reshaped football forever. It led to the Taylor Report, which revolutionized stadium safety by introducing all-seater venues. Yet for Liverpool, Hillsborough is more than a lesson in safety. It's a story of unity and justice. Moran stepped down after the incident. His temporary leadership marked the end of an era. From Shankly to Moran, the original boot room legacy lasted an astonishing 33 years, a span that shaped Liverpool into a footballing empire. But here's the beauty of the boot room. Its influence didn't end when its doors closed. A legacy forged by Shankly, perfected by Paisley, carried on by Fagan, and honored by all who dared to walk in their footsteps. This isn't just history, it's the Liverpool way. The post-boot room era was shaky, and Liverpool failed to showcase their real power on the pitch till the arrival of that one German genius who changed the course of Liverpool's play and revived its greatness. Before we get to the Klopp era, let's talk about what happened after the boot room era. When Kenny Dalglish stepped down in 1991, the first cracks began to show. Graham Souness, a boot room graduate and former Liverpool captain, took the reins. Expectations were sky high, but Souness's tenure was turbulent. The 1992 FA Cup win was a brief respite in an otherwise disappointing reign, and by 1994, the club parted ways with Souness. Next came Roy Evans, another boot room stalwart. Evans sought to restore the club's identity, bringing back an attractive, attacking style of football. Under his leadership, Liverpool showcased glimpses of their old brilliance, winning the 1995 League Cup. But inconsistency and defensive frailties kept the league title agonizingly out of reach. Despite moments of hope, Liverpool began to feel like a sleeping giant unable to waken. Then came Gérard Houllier, a Frenchman who symbolized a break from tradition. Houllier modernized the club, introducing discipline and tactical structure. His greatest achievement came in 2001, a remarkable treble of the FA Cup, League Cup, and UEFA Cup. But even Houllier couldn't deliver the Premier League. His reign ended in frustration, marked by health issues and the growing sense that Liverpool were falling behind their rivals. It was at this moment Liverpool needed a leader, a strong figure that can lead the team to success. In 2004, Rafa Benitez arrived, ending all speculations, and for one magical night, Liverpool's greatness returned. The miracle of Istanbul in 2005, a comeback for the ages, saw Liverpool lift their 5th European Cup. Yet, for all his tactical genius, Rafa struggled domestically. Financial turmoil under controversial American owners George Gillette and Tom Hicks left the club in chaos, and Benitez's departure in 2010 marked the end of another era. The appointment of Roy Hodgson was a low point. His tenure was brief and disastrous, marked by poor results and a disconnection with fans. In 2011, Liverpool turned to their past once more, bringing back Kenny Dalglish to steady the ship. Dalglish restored pride, delivering the 2012 League Cup, but his second stint lacked the spark of his first. The club still needed fresh ideas and a new direction. Enter Brendan Rodgers in 2012. Rodgers brought bold attacking football and came tantalizingly close to ending Liverpool's league drought in 2013-14. Led by the brilliance of Luis Suarez and Steven Gerrard, the Reds were inches away from glory, until Gerrard's infamous slip against Chelsea became a heartbreaking symbol of Liverpool's near miss. Rodgers' reign promised much but ultimately failed to deliver sustained success. Rivals like Manchester United, Chelsea, and Manchester City surged ahead, leaving Liverpool struggling to keep pace. The Premier League title, the prize the Kop craved most, remained elusive. But change was on the horizon. In 2015, Liverpool turned to a charismatic German, a man with a vision, a philosophy, and a passion that mirrored Shankly's. Jurgen Klopp didn't just promise to win trophies, he promised to bring joy back to the game. When Jurgen Klopp arrived at Liverpool in October 2015, the club was desperate for revival, and he did. Klopp's era was undoubtedly one of the finest in modern football. He changed Liverpool's approach to attacking football. Klopp's football wasn't just a strategy, it was a spectacle. His philosophy, often called heavy metal football, was built on relentless energy, high pressing, and quick transitions. Liverpool became a team that suffocated opponents, outworked them, and punished mistakes with devastating precision. Success didn't come overnight. Klopp inherited a struggling squad and shaped it into one of the greatest teams the game has ever seen. He identified players who fit his philosophy. Players like Sadio Mane, a relentless forward, Mohamed Salah, a clinical finisher who redefined goal scoring from the wing, and of course, Virgil van Dijk, a defensive colossus who turned Liverpool's back line into a fortress. Alisson Becker brought composure and world-class quality to the goalkeeper position, while Andrew Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold revolutionized the fullback role with their creativity and energy. Add to this the engine room of Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, and Jorginho Wijnaldum, and Liverpool became a machine, a perfectly tuned, unstoppable force. The first major milestone came in 2018, when Liverpool reached the Champions League final. But it was heartbreaking. They lost to Real Madrid in a dramatic final. The journey marked the beginning of something special, and Klopp's words echoed louder than ever: "We will come back." In 2019, Liverpool did come back, defeating Tottenham Hotspur in the Champions League final to claim their 6th European crown. It was a night of redemption, a testament to Klopp's belief in perseverance. And who can forget their historic comeback against Barcelona in the Champions League? After trailing by 3-0, they fought back in the second leg, winning it 4-0. It was football at its most electrifying, a masterclass of belief, heart, and tactical brilliance. But that was just the beginning. The 2019-2020 season was historic. Liverpool ended a 30-year wait to lift the league title, dominating the Premier League like never before. They didn't just win, they obliterated the competition, securing the title with 7 games to spare, the earliest ever in the league's history. For Liverpool fans, it was the fulfillment of a generation-long dream. In 2024, Jurgen Klopp's remarkable 9-year reign at Liverpool came to an end. It wasn't just the close of an era, it was the conclusion of a story that transformed the club's fortunes and redefined its legacy. Klopp didn't just win trophies. He gave Liverpool its heartbeat back. He reignited the passion of the Kop, restored the pride of the badge, and turned doubters into believers. Liverpool under Klopp didn't just return to the top, they set new standards for what it meant to play the beautiful game. But the story doesn't end there. After Klopp's departure, the torch was passed to Arne Slot, a man with a vision of his own. Slot has taken Klopp's philosophy of high-pressing, fast-paced football and given it a more structured, tactical edge. And here's the exciting part: it's working. Liverpool currently sits at the top of the Premier League, showing no signs of slowing down. Could this be the dawn of another golden era? We've got a detailed video analyzing why Liverpool might just lift the Premier League trophy in 2025. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check it out. You don't want to miss it. And there you have it, folks. From their formation in 1892 to the present day, Liverpool Football Club has revolutionized the game. It's a story of triumphs and heartbreaks, of legacies built and challenges overcome. It's a journey that has inspired millions and will continue to do so for generations to come. If you enjoyed this trip through Liverpool's history, don't forget to like this video. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button for more amazing content.